To the top, here I go, think I'm chosen to be the king of rock, think the people have spoken. I can hear the tick-tock of the clock, I'm in motion. So now I'm gonna pop, causing all this commotion.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fat Boy Cartel podcast. We're here tonight to do a reaction, review, whatever you want to call it, to NXT June 14th. It's been a long day. Get off my back, bro. Anyway, but before we get started on NXT for tonight, let's do quick reactions to Monday Night Raw last night, since we promised to at least recap it a little bit every week. Thoughts? Or should I just run through some stuff?
I don't care.
Only thing big to really come out of it's the fucking Eva Marie shit.
Nope.
Shit.
No. Shut up.
Well, we're going to talk about it for a minute or two. I thought there was a couple okay things on this show, as a matter of fact, which is very few and far between here. New Day versus RK Bro actually had a great match. I thought they did a good job with that. Even though, well, I didn't mind the fact that Xavier Woods got pinned here. It made sense. He got pinned, which plays into actually the MVP storyline where he's trying to recruit Kofi Kingston. So for once, this actually made sense to pin Xavier to kind of reiterate to Kofi that he's the reason why you're losing.
Yeah.
So he's the reason why Kofi Mania died and all this stuff. So it worked in this case. I thought it actually made sense because it will further the storyline there.
The reason Kofi Mania died is because Brock Lesnar. Let's be real fucking real here.
And just the bad booking in general. But yes, absolutely. Rhea pinned Asuka clean. Even though this is a rematch we've seen over and over and over again, at least there was no distractions, no DQs, and no interferences. So they can do it.
Can be done.
It can be done, but with that being said, let's get into the rest of this garbage real quick. I mean, I pretty much checked out of this show 20 minutes in because the show started out with Nikki Cross winning by count out over Charlotte Flair. And of course, they're touting the fact that Nikki Cross is winning like crazy here when she's 1-0. She won 2 beat the clock challenges. One time she pinned Rhea, but that was after Charlotte beat her down first. So she really didn't do anything but make the cover. And then, of course, now she gets a count out win over Charlotte. Charlotte and Rhea are two of the biggest idiots when it comes to not paying attention in matches. That makes, it just makes no sense. Let's see here.
Hey, whoa. You said it makes no sense. I just literally read an article where Vince said,
yeah,
from this point on, nothing gets done in the ring unless there's a reason behind it.
He meant no more cold matches, meaning they're not going to just book matches for the sake of booking matches. They're going to book matches that make narrative sense. Now, what they're doing with Nikki and Charlotte and Rhea, they feel like that is making narrative sense because it flows with the story. But that doesn't mean their booking is going to be any better. That just means they're going to book matches that would make sense to further storylines, which, hello, you should have been doing that the whole time. But anyway, but yeah, that was accurate. Then we had Jeff Hardy right after this, his ultra wooden promo that he cut with his eyes closed. I mean, it was literally the most wooden robotic thing I've ever seen in my life. This is coming from a company that has horrible promos to begin with.
Wait, did he do the same thing with Willow and TNA? Maybe.
I don't know. I'm just saying, it was just, he stood there and was like, it's going to be a great night, and I'm not saying you should do it, coming from me especially, but you should listen to Randy. And it was just really poorly executed. And speaking of which, Jeff Hardy, the same man who Randy Orton tried to rip his earlobes out not too long back, he tells Riddle that he should trust and listen to Randy Orton. Why? I don't get it. And on top of that, he goes out and gets beat by John Morrison after getting sprayed with his dripstick. Who knows what the hell that is. And then after that, they have an impromptu retirement match where Jeff Hardy once again beats Cedric Alexander in the middle of the ring. So I don't know what they're doing with building Cedric Alexander here. Then, of course, we get into the Eva Marie stuff debuting. But she technically doesn't even wrestle in this. She just brings out Piper Niven, which they won't even say her name because in WWE's world,
the commentators had no fucking clue who the fuck Piper was.
Yeah, well, they
storyline and continuity issues. They had no clue who the fuck she was.
This is what they do every time they bring up anybody from NXT, NXT UK. They act like that whatever they did before they got to the main roster does not exist, and so they haven't existed up to this point. And so this is a company.
It gets worse with this because apparently what the reported plans are is she's going to go by the name Dewdrop.
Yeah, well, like what?
And
like,
then
why?
Essentially be Eva Marie's fan, like super fan or some shit.
And not only Dewdrop, but DOUDROP. Not like Mountain Dew. It makes, I don't know, it's a weird spelling even.
I don't know. It's dumb.
Brandon is
Marie
just
takes credit for the victory. It's all fucking dumb.
Yeah, she takes credit for the victory. She didn't even lift a finger. And this is coming from the same company who, wants to say all the women in the world who want to be great and amazing want to be in their company, but yet this women's division is sitting
not on the main roster then.
Well, either way, it's still the same company. And this women's division is turning back into the Divas division. The women's evolution is dead at this point. I mean, you've got one woman on one show talking about how she wants to be the most gorgeous woman on the roster, doesn't care about wins or losses. You've got another one who's feuding with a freaking doll. I can't get behind this. Eva won't wrestle.
We desperately need Becky Lynch back.
Oh, yeah. And by the way,
it's not going to change anything.
By the way, where's Sasha Banks? Or Damian Priest, for that matter, on this show. I know it's got to do with the women, but yeah. So we had also another Elias versus Riker match. This is basically Nakamura and Corbin. Same match every week, as just like it is on SmackDown.
This is a carbon copy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Literally the same feud.
I'm not even talking about that. Even
their
the
match.
Finish, Elias left after a minute.
Yeah.
Same thing he did last week. So.
What else do we have here? We had Alexa versus Nia Jax DQ finish again. We can't have a show without some sort of DQ.
No, Reginald needs to get the fuck out of the division.
Yeah, and for some reason Reginald got hypnotized by Alexa Bliss by the end of this segment. Literally hypnotized. So more of that stuff.
I don't see issue with that. It's just the fact that it seems a lot, especially with Nia Jax. Anything with Nia Jax, he's involved in.
Yeah. And the one good thing coming out of the Alexa Bliss storyline, though, they opened up the show. Alexa Bliss said with crowds and going back on the road coming back, she's decided to put Lily in a timeout. So hopefully this is WWE admitting failure to this, and the doll is gone for good. But
probably not.
Probably not. That's just my wishful thinking. But either way, we'll say what they do there. We also had an 18-minute match that they advertised, AJ Styles versus Drew McIntyre. 18 minutes that led to nothing but a DQ. To only set up a 6-man tag with the Viking Raiders and AJ and Omos and Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley, who was sitting at ringside in a suit, had to literally, the beginning of the 6-man match, had to go to the back to change into his gear because he didn't have his gear on. And then all it did was lead to Drew McIntyre pinning the WWE champion. And if you know me and my nitpicks of this company, well, maybe so, but I don't like anytime you pin especially the WWE champion. So
especially on a go-home show.
Yeah. Like, so technically, Drew should win, right? Because, I know that that's not the way they book it. But usually
I don't know how they book shit.
It's anybody's guess. It's like, just throw the notes out the window. But anyhow, with that being said, I wasn't a fan of Raw. They had a couple spots there with the Kofi and MVP stuff was good.
Well, I didn't want to sit through everything, and then Eva Marie done what she did.
I ain't gonna lie, I turned it off 20 minutes in last night, but I did go back and catch a couple of the clips just so I know what I'm discussing. But yeah, this is a terrible show. And again, kudos to Vince, I guess, for finally deciding no more cold matches. Stuff that only makes sense narratively going forward, but that does not mean your booking is going to be any better. You still got to book the better finishes and stuff more.
No, and that's what makes sense to him.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Not in general, in sense.
So we'll see where it goes here as Brandon has disappeared behind his microphone.
I don't care.
I don't blame you, dude.
No.
That's nothing to really care about. But with that being said, let's get into the show we're here to discuss tonight, and that is NXT for June 14th, 2021 here. The show.
By far a much better show.
Oh yeah, this is actually a good show.
You want to talk about women's wrestling?
Yes.
You can talk about it here.
There you go.
I still don't understand how it's this much of a drastic difference between the two. When essentially, you're right, it's all under the same fucking umbrella.
It's because the main roster and Vince do not listen or care about what NXT is doing. Well, yeah, that too. But I mean, the whole report about they were sending scouts down to NXT as to try to determine who to call up. You mean to tell me you don't want your own program? Which we know is true.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, he doesn't watch NXT.
No, and neither does any of the higher ups at WWE either. It's NXT is its own little world. UK is as well.
So leave it there then.
Yeah,
Make it just essentially make it a third brand.
Yeah.
And it's the best brand on the shows, even though the ratings don't reflect that, which for the life of me, I can't understand. But
I
notwithstanding,
guarantee you NXT would get a lot better ratings if they switched Monday and Raw and NXT.
I would like to think so, but I honestly think that a lot of, as we've talked here on the show, pro wrestling fans sometimes just don't want pro wrestling. They want sports entertainment, and as bad as that sports entertainment is, they prefer that style sometimes over actual pro wrestling, and it's sad, to be honest with you. And I'm speaking to all the pro wrestling fans out there. Be better if that's the case, because you're accepting garbage, and the more you accept it, the more they give it to you. So just stop it. Anyway,
You haven't given them a reason. You haven't given them a reason not to do it.
yeah. And the ratings have gone down over the last 5 or 6 years, absolutely. But until you stop going to these shows, until you stop buying their merchandise, they're not going to change a thing. And even then, they're making all the money they need off of these TV deals and stuff they've signed. They may not even change even then. They may wrestle in front of zero crowd. And believe it or not, they probably prefer it that way because they don't get any pushback. But we'll see how things go. Hopefully, with the crowd coming back, maybe some people will boo this garbage out of the building, which may be why they got rid of Lily, because they figured, hey, this ain't going to work in front of a live crowd. But we'll see. Anyway, NXT, the show opened up tonight with a canned intro recapping TakeOver in your house from this past Sunday. William Regal is kicking off the show with a serious look on his face, seemingly holding back tears. An emotional Regal talked about being in NXT since the beginning. He did commentary, and he called the first TakeOver, he said. Tried to maintain his composure, Regal fought back tears as he talks of NXT's success over the years. Regal went on to mention the shows overseas, including his hometown in Blackpool, England, where his nieces sat with him at a show. Regal was tearing up, but he composed himself enough to keep going. He thanked the fans for NXT being able to travel around the country. With what he called chaos lately, Regal says he has given everything he could give. He went on to say he is not capable of giving the audience or the staff what they deserve. Suddenly, NXT champion Karrion Kross, his theme music hit. Kross and Scarlett interrupted Regal's speech to confront him in the ring. Kross said he and Scarlett knew this day would come, but they didn't know when. Kross proceeded to bully William Regal, and he asked Regal if he was crying. For that, Kross called him completely pathetic. Kross knew Regal was losing control of NXT, and he said he punched a hole through the whole of Mount Rushmore of NXT. And Regal knew Kross could not control NXT through violence and chaos. Kross wanted Regal to say it, tell these people you were leaving, then walk your ass up the aisle and never come back, quote. Kross ordered Regal to say Kross was right, and that is when Samoa Joe's music hit, which we all kind of knew based on the reports. Samoa Joe was going to be coming into this show. Let's see here. Business was about to pick up. Kross stared in disbelief. Joe, wearing a fly blue suit, confronted Kross in the ring as the crowd chanted, "Joe, Joe." Joe said Regal wanted to speak with him. Regal responded by saying he wanted Regal to be the new general manager. Yeah, Regal responded by he wanted Joe to be the new Regal manager. Oh, this is horribly written.
General manager.
Yeah, thank you. Joe, absolutely not, is what he said. He explained why. Joe said Regal brought the best talent to NXT, including himself. Joe said Regal made NXT and the international phenomenon in the 7 years Regal ran the promotion. Glaring a hole through Kross, Joe said he would make sure everybody respected Regal. This was great. Joe was apparently wanting to work with Regal to help him out. Regal said he was interested in doing this, but there were conditions. Joe could not be a competitor, and he cannot lay a hand on anyone unless provoked. This is exactly like Stone Cold Steve Austin in about 2003.
Was physically provoked.
Which was actually good. It was entertaining. And of course, within,
got entertaining throughout the night.
And within about a segment, Joe already got provoked and it got really entertaining real quick.
Put that motherfucker to sleep.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, so
I texted the group chat like, yo, Joe just put Cole straight this day. Hit him with that night.
Yeah. And he made it even better. He's like, when he wakes up, let him know he wants his answer. So it's like, yeah. So Joe was great. Now I'm not going to lie though. I thought that there were moments during this evening, even though Joe is there to maintain order or help with that, being an enforcer to William Regal's character, which I believe is the best route to take Samoa Joe right now. Him being general manager in and of itself, I would prefer Regal still stays around. So I'm glad they went this route. But throughout the night, even though they talked toward the end of the night that they felt like, things were much more under control, this show was still out of control, top to bottom.
Yeah.
They were breaking up fights. There were,
Yeah. Well, it's that whole Regal had lost control. Of course, not everybody's going to fall in line right now. Everybody's still hot off of what happened from NXT, from
point.
TakeOver, right? You have a lot of these feuds that they've built for months now that are reaching their real boiling points here. So yeah, of course, just because Joe's there, not everybody's going to snap to attention here. It's like when you get a substitute teacher in high school. Nobody gives a shit. You don't take him seriously until he gives you a reason to take him serious. Like that whole thing that popped off between O'Reilly and Cole in the back. No one was listening to Regal because he's the assistant principal that whatever. We've already ran through you. We don't listen to you.
Right.
Until security shows up, aka Joe. He squashed that shit quick. Right?
Yeah.
As far as the women go, like he wasn't gonna choke out any of them. Could you see Joe just choking out one of those?
Well, no.
But he was there to try to kind of break everything up and calm everybody down. But their feuds are at a point to where, like, you've seen all these videos on the internet where people just heated arguments or whatever, and people, even when the cops show up, they still don't stop arguing. They're still yelling while the cops are trying to do their job. So in the same sense, they don't have total control. Regal doesn't have total control yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But we'll hit that point.
I'd give it a couple weeks.
Yeah. And this still fits the story that you can still tell in with Regal he's still like a beaten man, but Joe has given him some sort of hope. Yeah. So like even throughout the night, he still is not 100% sure after everything. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Well, and don't get me wrong, I like the chaotic nature of shows because that's kind of the way it was back in the Stone Cold Steve Austin days. I mean, Raw was chaotic in nature. I don't necessarily mind that, but if you're going to sit there and say the shows are much more under control, you've got to make sure it is. Otherwise, we're just going to look right through that and be like, nah, it's not really. But yeah, it may take time.
He pulled that shit with that 4-man, though.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Karrion Kross and all that shit. Karrion didn't want that smoke.
No.
You see his face?
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder if he is going to lead to that because at some point Kross is going to provoke Joe. Yes. At some point, that's where that's going to end. Now, whether that means Joe is ever going to wrestle, I don't. Regal said you can't, but they also, it's like the way they booked it, they left that door open. Mm-hmm. So if Joe gets cleared or can, all bets are off at that point. But for the time being, since he's probably not cleared, this makes sense to leave that door open. So I like what they did there.
Yeah. I would love to see Joe and Kross go at it.
Yeah. Kross didn't want that smoke. Did you see his face?
Yeah.
Joe told him, get your ass out of this room. Why are you still here? Why are you still here?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what he says, like, be careful, young champion.
Yeah. TikTok, young champ.
TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok.
So,
carried all the air in his fucking chest left. And it was good. It's good to have someone to put him here because now it's just going to further carry it. Kross's character is going to be like, don't fucking talk to me like that, like type shit. You know what I mean? Like, and if you think Cole is going to let what Joe did to him go,
no,
that's not going to happen.
No, I wouldn't think. After this, we had Breezango defeating, believe it or not, we said this about a week or so ago, good luck, but they actually defeated Imperium here.
Look, they're not.
I mean, it was off the roll-up, but...
Yeah, it was off a roll-up, which WWE likes to do lately. But and they still made Imperium look strong. They beat him up afterwards. So it was a clean win, though. They won it fair and square. So no Walter, obviously. If that had been there, he'd been there. That'd have been a totally different story. But
fucking up some of his guys in the Imperium because like you guys can't do anything if I'm not around.
Yeah, you can't even beat Breezango, even though Breezango's a good young tag team.
Yeah.
Well, young, I guess in some respects. But but even so. Cool to see here. Good for Breezango. I'm glad they're
Breezango to get the win. It really was.
Yeah, I mean we'll see where this goes.
To keep them guys relevant, but they also are, in a sense, gatekeepers. Mm-hmm. They have a role. I don't look for them to hold tag titles, but they're there more or less to make your guys who you want to have a name come up because they are accomplished a tag team. They were.
It's like when Cassius Ohno was doing shit in the ring.
They don't need a title to hold their names up. Their ability does it, and their names do it themselves. They're there to help with the talent, and I'm okay with that. And them getting a win here and there, that's fine too. It doesn't make Imperium look bad. Yeah, you're right. They roll off a roll up because the majority of that match they were getting their asses handed to them.
True.
And you kind of have to hand them a couple wins here now.
Yeah.
Just to make sure when they do bring in a new team.
Yeah.
That, it's Breezango. Okay, there's
merit there. They're like, accomplished tag team.
Well, they beat Breezango. All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like
Instead of wow, they beat Breezango. Who?
Yeah. So this wasn't bad. I get it. I understand it. And then yeah, they did take an ass whooping afterwards.
Yeah, and afterwards they laid out Tyler Breeze. They laid him out, and then they also put him underneath an Imperium banner flag as they buried him, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was good. I mean, it just furthers the feud. I'd like to see where they're maybe going with this for sure. I don't know after 1 week it really says a whole lot, but we'll see what they do with it if they go anywhere else. I would assume that Imperium will want to get their win back at some point, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, right now you got your other major tag teams involved in a thing, so you got to kind of do something with Imperium to keep them relevant too, because there will be a time where they come after those tag titles, and I'm looking for that.
Exactly. After this, we went to the back. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly were having a pull-apart brawl. Regal yelled at them that they could settle this in an unsanctioned match at the Great American Bash, which could be great, obviously. If it's anything like their last match, that would be outstanding. Cole and O'Reilly still tied up again in a brawl. That's when we finally got to see what's going to happen here with Samoa Joe. He stepped in to separate them. Cole shoved Joe aside, which apparently is provocation, no doubt.
Yeah,
Joe took off his suit jacket.
Joe's face?
Oh, I know.
Bitch.
He's like, all right.
I was like, what is it?
It's going to be like one of those things. It's going to be where they play with Stone Cold, like what's provocation and what's not. And he clearly provoked him.
Hey
here.
man, you lay hands on me. That's you provoked the hands.
And when he did that, Joe took his jacket off and he proceeded to choke out Cole. And I don't mean a long choke out. He was out within seconds.
Oh yeah.
This was
life out of Cole. Boy.
This was swift. This was sudden. This was outstanding work by Samoa Joe here.
When he wakes up, tell him
that Regal expects your decision, because they gave him the option. Or Regal said, O'Reilly, you can choose your opponent for next week since you're so riled up. Cole, you could do the same. By the end of this night, we know who Kyle O'Reilly's opponent's going to be. We don't know Adam Cole's just yet. He'll probably try to weasel. Asleep. Yeah, he's probably still out. So we didn't really see him anymore the rest of this night. So he's probably taking a nap backstage somewhere. After this, we had Kushida was in the ring with Trey Baxter, who was making his NXT debut here. The only thing I don't really know about, Trey Baxter looked good in this match, but why is it NXT usually brings people in and usually immediately beats them?
Well, it's not more or less. It's giving you a showcase, right? He wasn't going to beat Kushida.
Well, and I get that. Yeah.
But it wasn't like Kushida. This was a squash match either. He went and had a really good match with Kushida, and the fact that you can come in on your debut, lose, but have a good match with not only the champion, but a very good wrestler and established wrestler at that.
Yeah.
Does a lot more than you just fucking winning a match between someone else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The kid looked good. I texted Damon this. I said, this Baxter dude is good. He was.
I heard on Twitter somewhere that someone was getting Buddy Murphy vibes.
Yeah.
And they were big up at him on the commentary. So again, this was his shot. Again, he wasn't going to beat Kushida. That's not what this match was designed for. This match was to give you, hey, get used to seeing this dude. You're going to see him again.
Yeah, and as we should. He had some good in-ring skills here. I want to see more. I just wish they would maybe not always bring up people debuting on NXT and then put them against immediately like a champion or somebody. Put them against somebody that they're going to get a win against. But other than that, he got a good shine here. Yeah, I got no problem with that.
He'll get that match of, oh yeah, this dude is somebody. You can't just bring him out there and expect the crowd to give a shit about him. Putting him out there and then giving him a match against somebody the crowd gives a shit about, a.k.a. Kushida, and then him going the distance with Kushida, putting up a hell of a fight with Kushida.
Who's
You'll
Kushida?
remember that more. Kushida.
It's
Kushida. Shut up.
Hey, you gave me problems for Asuka, so I'm gonna.
Asuka.
I'm just right, Kushida. But by the end of this match, O'Reilly had come out to watch the rest of this match. He did again, no music, no interference. He just stood there and watched. Stayed at a distance. That's okay. Outside of Raw, with the beginning of the show, Charlotte and Nikki Cross literally were wrestling for, I kid you not, 5 seconds when Rhea Ripley's music hit. So, 5 seconds. Can we not? Anyway.
He didn't need music. This wasn't a threat. This wasn't him trying to, distract anybody here. He was like, I know who I want to wrestle. So he went out there. And plus, let's say it's a face, so you really wouldn't. But you get what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't about him going out and starting shit. This was him, like, okay, I know who I want to go after. You know what I mean? I know who I want to have a match with.
And he just come out there to watch. And he didn't have to get on commentary. He didn't have to do none of that. He just stood there, and watched. It was great. After the match, O'Reilly challenged Kushida. Oh, I guess we should say Kushida tapped out Baxter here to win the match. O'Reilly...
real quick, the sequence that led to the hoverboard lock and the tap out.
Right.
When he jumped off of the top with the armbar, I was like, that had to suck ass. Because if you do this wrong, his shoulder's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And then he punt kicked his arm, and then he immediately went to the submission. I go, those 3 moves guaranteed to tap out.
Oh, yeah, as it should.
It made total sense for him to tap out as quick as he did. The amount of pain that he already had to be in, I mean, it fits. It works.
The one thing that NXT does do compared to the main roster a lot of times is the logical booking of certain sequences, and they make sense to set up the finish and then don't kick out or all that stuff. So they end it where it should. So
it made all the sense for him to tap out as fast as he did. I mean, let me punt kick you in the arm and throw you in the armbar and tell me how long you can hold it.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, after the match, O'Reilly challenged Kushida to a bout next week on NXT. Kushida accepted the challenge, so the match is set for next week. I don't think this is for the Cruiserweight Championship. I think it's just one-on-one. No. So he flat out made a point, said, I'm not wanting to accept your challenge. I just want to make a challenge of my own. So I think that's pretty well.
This won't be for the title, but I would love to see those two go at it for that belt.
And to be honest, I agree with you, but at the same time, since O'Reilly's just coming out of a NXT Heavyweight Championship match,
I'm not saying it's got to be next week,
and I'm not saying a Cruiserweight title is like a demotion or anything either. But to me, it just feels a little weird to go from the heavyweight to that. But yeah, I mean, it would still be a great match, so I'm looking forward to seeing it for sure. Then we had Frankie Monet in a backstage interview. She said next week would be the encore performance of her world premiere. Priestley would also be there. Or Presley, I guess is the dog's name. He's such a
Presley.
Yeah. I read that like I thought it was Bea Priestley, but no, that's a totally different thing. Anyhow, no, her dog will be there as well. So basically, we're just going to get her to see her again, like we did in her debut.
This is a conniving ass woman.
Yeah, a little bit.
She tried to play. She said, "I thought you guys should have won if it wasn't for." Crap! What's his name? I can't remember the guy's name.
Oh, Robert Storm.
Yeah. And then
is it Robert
shows
Storm?
up.
I think it's Robert Storm.
Was it Robert Storm? I can't remember his name.
Something like that. I can't remember.
But
Robert something.
As soon as he shows up, she's big up at him, and then she kind of just disappears into the back. And I'm like, this heifer.
Yeah. Robert Stone, not Storm. Stone.
Yeah.
Robert Storm's a YouTuber I like to listen to. Anyway, sorry about that.
She's a little devil.
Yeah, absolutely. After this, we had a great segment, in my opinion. LA Knight come out to accept the $1 Million Championship belt that was on display in the ring. Ted DiBiase threw to a hype video featuring LA Knight, and then Knight arrived to the building in a fancy sports car. Knight sauntered to the ring with a cigar in his mouth, looking every bit. Was it a Corvette?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but he came out to the ring with a cigar in his mouth. Or he sauntered to the ring. He was outside with a cigar. Knight wanted to talk, and the crowd booed him. Knight told DiBiase that not often in life you can meet your heroes, much less share the ring with them. Knight can barely describe what he is feeling right now, that he is carrying on DiBiase's legacy. Knight is banged up from the ladder match, but it would mean the world to him being there. He had DiBiase's action figure growing up, and it came with the belt. Now LA Knight has the title. Knight told DiBiase it would be an honor if DiBiase crowned him the new $1 Million Champion. DiBiase said he'd be glad to, and he draped the belt over Knight's shoulder. They shook hands, and the pyro went off, and DiBiase did his signature laugh. Taking the $1 Million Championship off of his shoulder, Knight looked down at it in his hands. Now that he has everything he wanted, Knight said, "It's time to drop what I don't need." That's when LA Knight decked DiBiase with this punch, sent him falling to the mat. The right hand dropped DiBiase so hard, I swear, good sell here by Ted DiBiase. Knight went to leave, but he turned back to attack DiBiase again, stomping him and kicking him all over the place. Knight was putting the boots to DiBiase when Cameron Grimes ran down to make the save. The Pops Cameron the pop Cameron Grimes got when he ran down to this ring
Oh yeah.
was incredible.
Again,
Cameron,
no
yeah.
music. He just showed.
He
the
just
fucking-
ran down. Cameron Grimes cleaned house and cleared the ring of night. Grimes screamed at LA Knight that he had crossed the line. And so, yeah, this was absolutely great. This is something I didn't actually see coming. I thought, obviously he was going to be Ted DiBiase's protege here. But
Nobody saw this.
LA Knight thought he was going to be good enough on his own, and he is still the $1 million champion. But this is clearly not over. Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase are going to have to form an alliance.
And you said you weren't sure how
Well,
this was gonna go.
Well, here's the thing. What I wanted was Cameron Grimes to win, so we got that interaction between Ted and Cameron. Apparently, we're still going to get that. They just did it in a little different way than I thought they would. So in this case, they totally
Stand
surprised me.
corrected. This is gonna go. I think this is gonna go in a good direction.
Yeah, I do too. They surprised me for once, and I didn't see this coming.
But
And
are we really surprised though, given that LA Knight's coming off was essentially the heel in this, leading into the match, and then this.
Mm-hmm. It's even a bigger.
I didn't see it coming, but I also wasn't.
Well, no,
like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Yeah.
and we couldn't see it coming because Ted DiBiase himself was acting heelish at times during this whole thing.
Yeah.
Clearly.
No idea that you had no idea it was gonna end up that way. Nobody foresaw him punching Ted.
No.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
said-
But I'm also saying I wasn't surprised when it did happen. I was like,
Right.
oh,
Right.
This, and
I
it
didn't see
did
this
nothing
coming,
but-
but I'm not surprised by it.
It makes
this did
narrative
nothing-
sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
This did nothing but bolster the whole LA Knight
Oh, yeah.
situation. Like now, like I was cooking when it happened. I had it on the TV, and when I heard him say, "Time to get rid of the things I don't need," I knew. I was like,
He's like,
At that
Uh-oh.
point, I knew. It was like, oh.
Well, and before he said that, though, I didn't see it. And even when it happened, I was surprised and shocked, and I was glad I was, because it's something wrestling sometimes can't do sometimes anymore for me. But after it happened, I'm like, this makes so much sense.
and
I was
that
like,
crowd, if they didn't like him before, they didn't like him because he beat
Yeah.
Cameron Grimes.
and not only
They
before this
don't
feud,
like him now.
yeah, before this feud, LA Knight was down here. When he won the title, he was up here. Now after this, he's way up here. He just went from nothing to something in a literal span of a few weeks. Great job by NXT booking here. I don't know whose idea this all was, but keep
Now
up
Cameron
this.
gets all the
Fucking
sympathy in
killed
the
it.
fucking world.
And he's
to
the biggest
become a
baby
bigger
face ever.
Yeah.
And whenever he captures the $1 million championship, which is going to happen at some point, sooner
It'll
or
make it
later.
the pop will be that much more huge.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be back to live crowds, and maybe this won't happen until NXT's next big takeover event or whatever it might be.
I was going to say, because that's not until what, mid-August?
Now, it could be Great American Bash. I can't remember.
I don't see them taking it off LA Knight right now.
No.
You'll have a
Well,
match
yeah,
for it. Oh, I got a feeling maybe.
Yeah, I don't know
And
if I want him
he'll-
to do it that soon anyway. There won't be any crowd for that, I don't think. No more than what we already had.
But I guarantee you by the next one or maybe Rumbles, NXT, Grimes will have that title.
Let's hope so.
I
If
don't
they can
know.
drag it, I don't know if they can drag.
I don't want it to be that soon.
I don't know if they can drag it out, Cameron Grimes and LA Knight, that long though. That's the thing.
It ain't got to be him every time.
Well, no, agreed. But in order for Grimes to take it off of him, I agree with you. I don't think he should take it off of Knight anytime soon. But in order for the feud to continue, you would think it would have to be
you
sooner
gotta
than
have-
later.
yeah.
So I don't know, but we'll see how they do it.
I
But
don't know if he'll do it for the SummerSlam takeover, but I would almost guarantee you by Rumbles, because that's like what, 6 months?
yeah.
Yeah,
I would think
that's probably
SummerSlam would be
about
about right. Rumble may be too long to drag this out. But we'll see what they do. They surprised me here. Hopefully they've got a plan where they're going with it. They seem to have had a plan every step of the way with this whole feud. So I have faith in this. So I'm
Like
excited
I
to see where
said,
this
I'll
goes.
give them leniency.
Yeah.
They proved me wrong, and so far, with this feud,
More often than not, NXT will reward your patience and faith in them. So there's times they can let you down occasionally, but for the most part, they do things right. Backstage, we had another interview. NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez and her tag team partner Dakota Kai indicated they were after a shot at the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. After commercial break, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart confronted Gonzalez and Kai near the gorilla position. Samoa Joe and William Regal tried to keep the teams apart. This is basically, the thing here. Well, obviously, like you said, Samoa Joe's not going to get physical with the women, most likely, but he was still doing his job there, keeping them
He was
apart.
still doing his job. And like I said, this feud with these, especially this team, has reached a fever pitch. Like, they have, especially because Raquel injured Shotzi and, and Ember was this close to snatching that belt off of her. I'm interested to see where this is going and what's going to happen with Dakota Kai and
Eventually, it's going to lead to a break, I think, but I just don't
I
know
would
how
assume
soon.
so.
Maybe by the end of the summer, I could definitely see it for sure.
Yeah.
After this, we had NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai defeated Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro here. Dakota
Again,
Kai pinned
he looked
Catanzaro.
good.
Yeah.
Caden Casey killed it in this match.
There was a
Right.
spot in this match. I actually thought that Catanzaro and
Yeah,
Caden
we're
Carter were
gonna
going to win. And then,
Yeah.
of course, at the end, Dakota Kai actually kicked out of the finisher that I thought they were going to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was actually a pretty good match for the women's division here. Absolutely.
And Casey's improved since she came into the company.
Mhm.
In my opinion, she's improved a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought, like, there was, you're right. There was one point I was like, oh, they're about to get this dub.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm like, if they pin
Kai.
so be it. But
Yeah.
they looked good. They looked good even though they lost. They still look good. They went out there. They got all their shit in.
Which,
They look
again,
good.
main roster, take notes. You can lose clean and still get over. This DQ distraction interference garbage doesn't get. Just ask Nikki Cross. It's not getting her over. You may think it's getting her over. None of this is working. I hate to tell you. Break it. Anyway. After this, we had Everrise cut a promo on Hit Row. I guess this was supposed to be comedy and serious at the same time. But, so we'll see where this goes. Obviously,
I
there's
thought it was
setting up
dumb.
I mean, I wasn't a big fan of it myself.
Because I don't
but-
get Everrise.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm not
They've not been on
encouraged
TV
with
much
that.
for me to care. So I mean, they've done their little promos. And I guess they got a podcast or something.
I don't
But
give a shit what you say. Hit Row is hilarious. You can fuck off.
yeah. Well, yeah, and I want to see more from them too. We haven't seen a whole lot, but
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
this is going to set up for probably Hit Row to get the win and
Mm-hmm.
further, their ascent here. So we'll see what happens. Cole versus O'Reilly was announced for the Great American Bash, which we kind of already knew. Candice LeRae confronts Io Shirai during an in-ring
my
promo.
God.
Io Shirai was about to talk about her next target when she was interrupted by Candice LeRae. According to LeRae, a lot has changed in NXT since Shirai was last here. Shirai rolled her eyes when LeRae said she was no longer an uncrowned champion. LeRae is, of course, one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions. LeRae said one thing has not changed is LeRae still cannot stand her. LeRae said Shirai picked the wrong time to screw with her. Indy Hartwell then gave a sneak attack and jumped Shirai from behind, and LeRae soon joined in. They were attacking Shirai when Shirai fired up on them. They were trying to put her through a table with an elbow drop here. That's when, who was it? Zoe Stark ran down to make the save. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to get a tag team match here at some point between these four women, which could be great.
Yeah.
I mean, Zoe Stark,
This gets Io out of the way for the title picture for a little bit. Give her something to do. Her and Stark will be fine together. Stark looked good, by the way.
do you think this is for the tag titles, or do you think this
It
is
will
just-
be. Not admitted.
Do you think? Do you think? I don't know if I would do that because Zoe Stark and Io Shirai have not earned anything to get a title match.
That's what I said.
No.
Not right away. That's what I
Right.
said.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you
thought
want to
the
do a tag match,
between
fine.
Dakota Kai and Raquel and Candice and Caden and Casey, I thought that was for number one contendership anyways.
Well,
Because the commentary made like some remark about,
maybe.
Raquel and Dakota are, next up for Candice and them or something. I thought.
I don't think it was for
possible.
anything like that. Then maybe that just might be the case that they.
Right.
May-
I mean, I don't know if it was an official number one
if
contender match, but
it's-
with them winning, it seemed
yeah.
like they were going to get their rematch.
There's a lot of teams vying for that spot right now between the Way, between
I think they should
Ember
do
and
another
Shotzi.
tournament. A
They
tournament
could.
for the female.
If you've got enough teams, I can only count like 4 or 5 right now. But even so, it's better than the
You throw a
women's
couple
tag division
together.
on the main roster.
That way you can throw Io and
Start.
Stark together.
Yeah. Allow
give-
them
you know,
to get a
you
couple
know,
wins.
Yeah.
I would assume if
that would be if you wanted to put the titles on Io and Zoe, tournament would be a way to at least give them
The option. I would.
or at least to earn the shot. To make
they
it some
went to a
wins.
tournament to get that one to get the shot. So
I mean, if they don't do a tournament, if it's just a match against the tag champs, I got a feeling, unfortunately, I would not like this, but that would mean Zoe Stark's taking the pin loss here, most likely. But you could also do the thing where Zoe Stark is the one to get a pin over the tag champs, which would kind of seem main roster like to me, pinning the champions to get the title shot, which I don't care for. But I would hate to see Zoe Stark get, because she's kind of been a little bit up and down with this feud with Toni Storm and stuff like that. So I would hate to see her go down even further. So hopefully this will be good to build her back up. We'll see what they do. cut to the outside of the building where Mackenzie Mitchell interviews William Regal and Samoa Joe as they're leaving the CWC. It was kind of weird. There was a couple spots where they were like walking out of the building, but the show wasn't over. And they were trying to interview Joe, and like, how do you think the show's going for tonight? It was almost like they put the segment in too soon. Maybe it was a production error. I couldn't quite tell, but it was a little confusing here. Mitchell remarked
the second time they were already outside.
Yeah,
when they talked to him, so it might have been like how you're leaving a party and people are walking when you're talking or whatever, and then you getting ready to go? Not yet, but you're making your way or whatever, and. Then they cut back later, and Regal's by his car, and then you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, see, that was the thing. This article even says it. That they start to question, why are Regal and Joe leaving before the show's over? Who is running things when they leave? Not only do we not get answers to those questions, we get no answers at all. No explanation while they're walking out of the building. Regal begins to speak, and the director cut away to Ciampa and Thatcher, which is what I thought was weird.
That is right.
Because it was odd. It was like right in the middle of the show, and so. And then we see him at the end of the show just standing. What do they do? Stand outside for half the show? It was like, it was a weird thing. I don't know.
When it cut away at the end, Ciampa is saying something in the camera, and the camera cuts to the back, and that's when they're at the car and they're leaving. Yeah, I don't fucking know.
This felt like a few weeks back when AEW cut to the Moxley Eddie Kingston promo and then went to commercial.
Yeah.
This feels like a production error to me. Like they filmed it earlier on. They were going to put it later in the show, and somebody made a boo-boo. That's so.
Man, who
it happens.
Done run NXT tonight.
I mean, this just goes to show no matter which company you like, they both have issues when it comes to this sometimes.
Man, humans.
There's human errors. Yeah, it's just part of
just.
Yeah.
Oh, missed call.
Yeah, most likely. But anyway,
that is weird though.
Yeah. After a commercial break, Mitchell was back with Joe and Regal. Now they were back inside the building, though, inexplicably. So see what I'm saying? So Regal was about to speak when he was interrupted by Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory. He was interrupting someone on the show. Imagine that. Gargano thanked Joe for being in NXT, and Gargano said it was good that Joe was there. Joe asked Gargano if he could do him a favor, and Gargano said sure. Joe said very sternly, "Get out!" So Gargano left without any further incident. That's when Pete Dunne entered the scene, and he had a stare down with Joe. So yeah, it was just it had to be out of place.
That would be another match I'd love to see in the future.
That has to be because it's one of those situations where Gargano sees what happened to Cole. Now, he's the new muscle on the field. So what are you gonna do? Especially if you're a cowardly heel, as in Gargano, you're gonna try to kiss his ass, and that's what that was. Yeah, but Joe, like he said in the promo in the ring, that he made Regal's life a hell when he was there. So Joe knows all this shit. You know what I mean? So he's not going to fall for it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that interaction was funny. But you're not going to get that sniveling, whiny shit out of Dunn.
No.
Dunn doesn't.
No, he just wants to fight you and break your fingers.
Continued to try to suck up to Joe.
Yes. Yeah. Gargano.
Oh, that's coming.
Because I mean, you could run a story with that. Gargano's trying to suck up to Joe, trying to get on, use Joe to get on Regal's good side, so Regal will give him whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Joe's going to get annoyed by it, want to beat the snot out of him. But as long as Johnny don't provoke him, though, he can continue to bug Joe all he wants.
Yep.
So, yeah, that could be interesting. I mean,
I think Austin Theory would be the one to provoke him, though. By accident.
Yeah.
Caused by Gargano.
Accidentally. Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, I'm excited about that possibility for sure. Then we have what I consider probably, in most people's belief, will be the best match of the night. Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. They defeated the Grizzled Young Veterans here in a tornado tag match. I
really call this a defeat. Jesus.
Really? Why wouldn't you call it a defeat?
One of them survive because
they double tapped out one dude.
Yeah. But this wasn't like they just steamrolled these two guys.
Well, no, it was a fight for sure, but it was still a victory.
One team survived the other. That's what this shit was.
Yeah, but decisively.
Fairy Tale ending
by the end of it,
one of the best finishers
ever
in NXT right now.
I also feel bad when any time a table does not break like it didn't in this one. Poor whoever the Grizzled Young Veteran was.
See
well, Ciampa on top of the part where they laid, diagonally against the table too, the top part of it, that didn't want to break much either, and Ciampa bounced off that. But yeah, that
brutal. I was like, the table didn't break.
Poor Ciampa's back.
Break.
Yeah,
and Even Beth goes, the table didn't budge 1 inch.
No.
No, it didn't.
Yeah,
So I
somebody
don't know
did pull the pin
I don't
or
know
something.
what they're making their tables out of now, but Jesus.
Half the time they don't
back.
want to go. I mean, they do, I guess, but you almost have to take it apart to where it literally has a hard time standing on its own in
Yeah.
order to do it.
And you
Yeah.
can't do that.
No, you don't want to do that either because it definitely
like-
looks too fake. But
Yeah, this was one team surviving the other. Those 4 men beat the holy hell. And can I say this?
Mhm.
Anybody from NXT to WWE, whether it be SmackDown or Raw and AEW, please, at some point, book more tornado tag matches.
yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think AEW
This was
books them. They just don't
so-
call them that, which is a thing.
Yeah, this
But,
was so
yeah.
much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like it legitimately was. And there wasn't a time where nobody wasn't doing something.
Mhm.
You
No.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was always
Somebody
constant.
had their hands on somebody at some point in time, whether it was 2-on-1 or there was a 1-on-1 situation. Somebody had a hold of somebody.
Mhm.
And I just think that makes for a more compelling. And that's why when you either win or you lose, it's a well fought fucking match.
I honestly wouldn't be upset if all tag team. Well, I mean, obviously, I do appreciate the old school FTR type style, all that too. But it seems like most of these companies now want to do this style anyway. They need to, like we've said about AEW, they need to just start calling
Just
them
say it. Just
tornado
say that's what
tags.
it is.
Because let's be honest, crowds are into this. They feel like some of the other stuff is boring. I hate to say it, but they do. So if you're going to do it, just say from now on, all tags are tornado tags, and just do it that way. And same with 6-mans, whatever it might be, you know. Because, I mean, obviously the multiple man matches are the ones that are usually considered by fans the better matches at this point. So
Because there's always something happening.
yeah, there's no lulls, which I think a lot of fans enjoy. I prefer the other ways to it because you can tell good stories with the other, way of doing it. But
this
you can
was
still tell good stories with this too.
Taking 2 psychopaths, i.e. Thatcher and Ciampa, and then putting them in the ring against 2 of the meanest British people you have ever seen in your life.
Right.
And then they just come in. When Thatcher and Ciampa were smacking the shit out of which one is he? The one with the longer hair.
Ciampa?
No.
No, I'm sorry.
Bald.
Yeah, you're right. That was the other team. I see. I have a hard time keeping Drake and Gibson apart.
Drake. Because Gibson's the bald, right?
I'll take your word for
I have no
it.
idea,
Anyway,
to be
one of the
honest.
Grizzled Young Veterans.
Dude,
Yeah.
Thatcher, first of all, when Thatcher first threw the first one,
Mhm.
he smacked the shit out of him.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
He turns around and Ciampa's like, I'm going to do it too.
Yeah, and the other one's hitting him from behind. It's like you can't see
Yeah.
that one coming.
I was
like-
like, oh.
Yeah, it's terrible. Not good
Brutal.
times. Horrible.
They beat the crap out of each other. And I felt
Which
bad
we
for
knew
Ciampa.
that coming. We knew.
Oh
that
yeah, we
coming.
knew this match was going to be like this. And to their credit, they delivered.
And
Now,
this is on both sides of the field here. Both guys are all 4 men, but both teams beat the crap out of one another.
Now you
Oh,
could
this
bring
match.
up the argument here. There may be some fans out there who are going to say, and I even question. I'm not saying it's right or wrong the way they did it, but some people may say that perhaps the Grizzled Young Veterans needed the win more here than Thatcher and Ciampa because they're already over. Maybe that you could argue maybe they should have booked it differently where Grizzled Young Veterans got the win. But outside of all that, this was a great match, a good
I
main
would
event.
love if this was a series between the two of them.
And it could
Oh,
be. It very well could go
This
that
could be the
route.
start of that. Grizzled Young Vets, because they bragged about beating Ciampa and Thatcher before. So in a sense, it was Ciampa
so they
and
beat him
Thatcher.
already once?
They beat him.
Okay, well, if that's the
I
case,
think
it's
they
not
beat
so
him
bad
twice
because
already.
okay. So if that's the case, this could be like the middle of a series almost even if
I
that
would
happened.
love for that to be like, and then they just up the stakes again, do a different tag match,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and
different
then end
different rule
end
set
it
maybe.
with a tag team tornado strap match.
That'd be interesting to see.
Nah,
Four
fuck
men
that shit.
strapped together. That would be interesting. I don't know. Andre, you okay
I don't
there?
know if I want either out of the 4
Oh.
of them hit me with a strap. Fuck that.
I thought Brandon wasn't feeling good. All of a sudden, he just went.
I got slave vibes off of that.
Oh man! Wow. On that note, let's move to the very end here. We went to the back and
David's face.
Yeah, Mackenzie Mitchell was again outside with Samoa Joe and William Regal. So yeah, another inside, outside, whatever. Pick one.
I got it right this time.
We're not heating up the neighborhood. Get in and out.
Yeah.
And after this, Regal said, "I think things are going to be a little different around here. Night one of many," Joe said, and they both turned to leave. So obviously, this is the beginning of hopefully a long-term storyline here with the enforcer Samoa Joe with William Regal, who I think is still going to do a great job. He's been killing it since day one. So we'll see where they go with it. And that's pretty much NXT for the night. Any further thoughts?
If you could have an enforcer, why wouldn't it be Joe?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing: we all thought Joe was going to be the general manager, or he was getting tied to NXT. Then I didn't think anything of this, so I want to give credit where credit's due. JD from New York is the one who mentioned on the podcast I heard anyway, where he said, "Make him the enforcer." Because we don't want it. We love Regal. We love Regal. There's no sense in just getting rid of him too. So it made the most sense, and that's what they did here.
Yeah,
so
and plus it allows, because as general manager, you really shouldn't be putting hands on talent anyway.
right.
But as in the enforcer role, it allows us to get snippets of the greatness of Joe as a wrestler. He'll be able to, like what he did with Cole, we'll be able to see more of that, hopefully.
And it fits Joe's personality.
Yeah.
That crowd was going to go nuts as soon as that man's music hit.
Oh, and they did.
And they did, and so did I. I had Rebecca earlier come in and like, so why were you screaming earlier?
Right.
But that
Because
crowd,
Joe came back.
that crowd would have went nuts if Joe said yes, he'd take the general manager job.
Yeah, and of course
I
we
don't
all
think
do.
this was ever a real question of whether or not Regal wanted to. And again, I wouldn't be upset if he did. I mean, Regal's done more than enough.
This is more about getting Joe on television because Triple H was upset that they let him go, as he should have been.
He was. I read that article. He was not fucking happy.
Well, good, because Samoa Joe, that would be, I mean, luckily for them, they got him back, but he could have been just as well an asset to any other company out there right now.
Which is weird, because isn't Hunter fucking executive over fucking talent relations, or did that go back to fucking Johnny Ace?
And I think it did. But at the same time,
Johnny Ace was making all the calls anyway, so that makes sense.
Yeah, which probably explains a lot of the things on the main roster right now, especially in the women's division.
I don't want to talk about main roster.
right. But as we said earlier, this also leaves the door open in case Joe gets physically cleared, which may be the whole reason why he's in NXT. Because a lot of people were like, well, why didn't he go to AEW? Why didn't he go to Ring of Honor or Impact? Well, we don't know Joe's medical history right now. For all we know, he's still not cleared. And perhaps if all that AEW or any of these other companies were going to use him for was to be on the mic, maybe they did. I mean, AEW's got a bunch of people on the mic right now. They don't necessarily need somebody else.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't be surprised
for Rampage.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised wholeheartedly if Triple H contacted Joe after he was let go.
Well, that's very well could be.
And the sound of it, like he was not okay with the fact.
No.
Well, nor should you be. But the whole point here is, if he's not physically able to compete right now, perhaps NXT is the one place that makes the most sense. And it may have even been his only option based on what he's able to do. So, and since that's the case, hopefully he'll be able to compete at some point. And obviously they're going to tease that and with him getting physical and stuff. And hopefully maybe we'll get more Samoa Joe back to being Samoa Joe of old.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys in NXT now were not in NXT when Joe was around.
No.
Yeah, and Joe could have some amazing matches with some of these new talents.
Could you imagine Joe and Finn Balor hooking it up again? That match was...
Assuming Finn don't go to the main roster or something too, but we've not seen him since.
Finn made it a point to say...
Yeah, let's hope not.
And so did Tyler Breeze.
A lot of these guys in NXT are aware we're staying here if at all possible because they know what awaits them up there.
I guarantee you, whatever contract he probably signed, Finn, to go to NXT states that he was staying on NXT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know Ciampa and Gargano, they've talked about, they'll be NXT for life if at all possible. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot for those two guys to still do at NXT at this point. They've done about everything you can accomplish.
Yeah, at this, like Damon said, at this point, turn that shit into a third brand.
It might as well already be. It's just whatever the reason the higher ups don't consider it that. We as fans do.
The role for Balor right now is essentially what he did for Cross.
Yeah.
Finn Balor's got so much history in NXT.
Right. And same for Gargano.
So accomplished in NXT, having Cross beat him, put Cross on another level.
Yeah.
And again, that would be a great role for Joe. Joe Joe's done more than enough for NXT. Joe's had a great career, just like Finn Balor, outside of WWE.
Oh yeah.
Hell, I remember when they made reference to that shit on NXT. not only Joe's career, but also Finn Balor's career, where he's been, who he's wrestling for, the accomplishments he had in other companies.
Oh, yeah.
But they did the same thing for Nakamura. I wish Nakamura would go back. I know there's nothing for him to do in NXT, and he would just be another body there at this point.
Still be better.
He's
And
like
again-
Finn. He's already a 2-time champion.
Yeah, and at the same time, Nakamura doesn't really give a shit. Like,
He wants to surf in Florida, and that's what he's able to
that's
do.
what he wants to do.
And if that's all that makes him happy,
Go to
kudos on
NXT,
him, man.
Get to live in Florida then.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, AJ's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
He just
I think
wants to finish.
AJ's explicitly stated, like, yeah, I'm not gonna.
He's not going
after-
anywhere else. He
no,
says after he's done wrestling there, he's done.
Well, but then
his
again, I
contract's
remember.
up or he retires.
Maybe he does retire, but I remember a guy named Braun Strowman said he's a WWE lifer and won't go anywhere else. But sometimes it's not in your control. So
I mean,
Plus, I
AJ's
guess
got
there were
enough
rumors
money
about
for-
him wanting like 6 figures, 5 figures.
he ain't getting that. He might as well forget it.
No,
He'll get
probably
it in
not.
Japan.
Oh yeah,
He'll get it in New Japan.
oh, yeah.
Maybe.
But
Oh,
what he was saying
Hey,
though
the
is like
big
if you
guys
want to
do.
book, like he's open to bookings because he
Mhm.
made note of like, hey, if you want to, get into contact, my agent's emails in my bio.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the report came out the other day that Mark Henry has been pushing Tony Khan to sign Braun Strowman. Mark Henry, I love you, but shut up. The AEW
Well,
don't need Braun
You've got
Strowman.
Miro, you've got Archer.
You've got too many big guys you're not doing a whole lot with already. You don't need another
No,
one.
you don't need big man Strowman to come in here either.
I mean, work on the guys you have. You got Wardlow, who just, by the way, if you've not seen the knee strike that Wardlow gave this wrestler on Elevation the other night, I'll send it to you. It was brutal as all. I thought the dude was dead, but
That cage fight's this Friday, is it not?
Yep.
I believe so.
Ooh, that should be fun.
Which, I won't be here for that show, so that sucks. But
I'll make sure to have my recording shit working then.
awesome. So yeah, if you guys
I
can
know
turn
what
me on.
happened last week, so.
Right. But anyway, but yeah, so I guess that'll do it for tonight's review of NXT for June 14th, 2021. But the real question here is, guys, or 15th, I guess. I've been saying 14th all night. My bad. So anyhow, this week's NXT. So yeah, it's been, I got to get better. But anyway, what do you guys think? Comment down below. Let us know. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content here on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
Later.
Yeah, ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right, I swear to God that I can drop you, bro. Yeah, I got a shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable.